Sweet. What is going on? Welcome back to the Slushy Film podcast, audio and video podcast with me, Nick, as always. I know it has been a minute and I apologize for that. I was on a vacation, or what some would say a holiday, with my family and did not have any time to do any recordings, but now I am back and I'm ready to talk about a few things. We're going to discuss a couple films I watched while on my travels, a little bit about my holiday, and a quick update, I guess you could say, on what seems to be a massive hit, almost like I told everybody that, in Project Hail Mary. So let's just jump right into it. Before I start talking about all things film and shows and that kind of stuff, I do want to apologize for the quality of the camera. I am working from home all week and my camera is not with me. And so unfortunately, I'm stuck with my Mac camera, which I thought would be a little bit better than it is when I popped it on, and it's not the best quality. So I do apologize for that. It is what it is. But hey, we still have the audio. The TikToks will still be made. It's been a minute since we've been on TikTok. That quick little holiday, which was a week long, was really, really nice. I cannot complain. And so, yeah, but now we are back. I was in London with my family. So that was a great time. Went to what they would call a football game and had a great time doing that. And we did a bunch of, tourist-y things while we were there as well. But all that to be said, while we were traveling, I did watch some things, especially just on the plane. Started a new TV show. We'll see if I continue that. I'm still not totally bought into it yet, but I know it's super popular amongst a lot of people. And yeah, I'm super pumped to be back. I love this podcast. This podcast has been a great escape for myself, a great chance for me to talk about what I want to talk about. And that is movies and that is TV. And so let's jump right into it. Before we dive into Project Hail Mary and all the Netflix films that I watched while I was away, I do want to touch on the Oscars because my last podcast episode had an Oscars prediction segment, and I did my predictions and all this kind of stuff, and then you really haven't posted any reactions. So these are going to be my reactions to a couple of the Oscar moments, awards, etc. If you did not see or did not know, I guess you would say, friends, family, and myself, we put together a Google form, and you had to fill out that Google form in all 24 categories for the Oscars. And essentially you had to select who you think was going to win each award. Now, I have not seen everything, especially like the documentary short. Frankly, I hadn't seen all the animated stuff or the animated shorts. So some nobody knows, right? We just purely guessed. But out of 24 categories, 8 of us filled out this Google form, and there were 3 people that ended up getting 19 out of 24, which is the highest number of answers correctly, I guess you could say. And I was one of them, which was really cool. So a lot of my predictions when it came to best actor, actress, supporting actress, I did not get supporting actor right. Best picture, director, cinematography, all that, we hit the nail on the head. So outside of on the predictions on this podcast that I think I gave 6. I think 5 of those 6, or I gave 8 because I talked about the animated stuff. I think out of those 8, 7 of the 8 we got correctly, which is awesome. So I kind of sometimes do know what I'm talking about, right? Even though a lot of people maybe don't agree with everything I've been saying. So I posted this TikTok on, it was on the Train Dreams film. It was probably a couple weeks ago at this point, and people are not liking what I said about that movie. So I do apologize just because it wasn't my favorite, and some of the criticism I gave to it doesn't mean we got to just attack Nick here. So just my 2 cents on that. But the Oscars, I was very happy with. I thought it was a great show, and I'm going to jump into just a couple of my initial thoughts for that. My first big takeaway from that show is essentially that One Battle After Another and Sinners clearly run away 2 films of the year. I have them at 1 and 2 on my favorite movies from the past year. With that being said, I always had Sinners as my favorite, knowing that probably One Battle After Another was going to take home more awards. but that is my second favorite film of the year. And Sinners in One Battle After Another, the clear winners. I think Sinners had 4 awards that they won. Now, out of like 16 nominations, maybe not the best percentage. And then One Battle After Another had 6 awards that they won. And, I was happy for both movies. I think both movies were well deserving of what they got. Sinners, see, I'm going to not remember these because it's been like a couple weeks. I know, obviously, Michael B. Jordan for Best Actor, cinematography for Sinners, and there were a couple others. One Battle obviously had Best Picture, Best Director. Gosh, see, that's where we get stuck because I'm like, oh, I don't even remember off the top of my head, and I don't have my poster with me, so I actually can't tell. But it was really good to see that those 2 movies got the success that they deserved and the recognition that they deserved, in my opinion, because they were the clear 2 films of the year. And I know not everybody agrees with that, but that was my thought. Obviously, Michael B. Jordan, I just mentioned, winning Best Actor. I think is great. I posted another TikTok mentioning it on the podcast about how Chalamet had lost all this ground in the Best Actor category, and Michael B. Jordan overtook him. And the odds really favored Michael B. Jordan. And at the end of the day, Michael B. Jordan won that award. I thought his speech was great. His reaction was great. Everybody was happy for him. I really loved that Michael B. Jordan won that award. And then piggybacking off the best actor category, I thought more about this, and Leonardo DiCaprio, I feel like, is nominated so often for best actor, and yet he's almost never won. He obviously won for best actor for The Revenant back in like 2015, I think it was, but he's always in this category, it feels like, and he's rarely won. And I'm like, he's one of the best actors of all time. I think people would say that. I'm sure that not everybody agrees with me on that. But Leonardo DiCaprio is somebody that I hope he wins more awards in the future, because I think he's so talented and he's so well deserving to have more Oscars than he does. So, but congratulations to Michael B. Jordan. I do think that was well deserved. Obviously he's playing 2 characters, brothers, in Sinners. And again, if you know me and you've listened to this podcast, you know how much I love that movie. So, most obvious win of the night, Jessie Buckley winning Best Actress. Again, great speech. I really was happy for her. I thought she was the standout performance of the entire year, men or women. I think that she was just unbelievably fantastic in Hamnet. I think that she stole that show. I think she made even Paul Mescal, not look all grand and mighty like William Shakespeare maybe would be while on screen. And Jessie Buckley was just an unbelievable performance and a great acceptance speech, and I'm super happy for her. She she swept the floor with the awards in the awards season, and I think it's super well deserving. Hamnet's only win as well that night. Look, I mentioned Michael B. Jordan winning, Jessie Buckley winning, Amy Madigan winning for Weapons. I thought that would happen. I thought Stellan Skarsgård, I saw the odds about Sean Penn winning Best Supporting Actor, and I just didn't want to believe it. So it wasn't even there, and so I decided I was going to go with Stellan Skarsgård. And Sentimental Value really didn't get anything. They obviously won Best International Feature, which is fantastic. But let's talk a little bit about the films that didn't get much. Sentimental Value is one of those. Sentimental Value obviously won for Best International Feature. But what about Marty Supreme and what about Hamnet? 2 films I really liked. 2 films that I think 2 months ago had a lot more headway than they ended with. I think that they were 2 movies that were going to maybe pull out a couple of awards, and they didn't at all. Jessie Buckley, obviously, for Hamnet, and then nothing for Marty Supreme, which is crazy. So I think that, sorry, I thought my dog was chewing on something that she wasn't supposed to be. And so obviously, like with Marty Supreme, they really took a hit. There was some stuff about why maybe they were going to take a hit, but I decided not to believe that. And I loved Marty Supreme. I thought it was a great movie, and they took a major hit. Hamnet, I think I need to watch Hamnet again. I feel bad for Hamnet. I thought maybe they could win some other award, but then when you're stacked up against Sinners in One Battle After Another in every category, it's like, what are you going to win? Because you're just not going to win anything with those movies in those categories, right? And so at the end of the day, I feel bad for Hamnet. I feel bad for Marty Supreme. But this was a stacked year for Best Picture and for the Oscars, especially when you compare it to last year, which I feel like was a tougher year with the movies. But this was the first year where I pretty much, I don't know if enjoyed's the right word, but most of the movies I thought were fantastic. People know I have my knocks on Train Dreams. I have my knocks on The Secret Agent. Those are probably my least two favorite. Look, that's nothing. It's not saying they're bad. That's just saying that overall, I don't think that they were my favorite. And so, F1 for sound. I love that F1 got a win. Again, if you've listened to this, watch this, I loved F1, probably more than most. And I think it's because I saw it in theaters with no expectations. And so Begonia, no wins. Frankenstein, ton of wins. All the artsy awards, right? Makeup, hair, costume, production design. Like Guillermo del Toro and his crew killed it, I thought. Um, so shout out to Frankenstein. I think they're, again, well deserving in all those categories as well. And then, of course, K-pop Demon Hunters, best animated film. And then Golden, best original song. Duh, in my opinion, those were total no-brainers. And, it was really good to see those as well because I loved that movie. So, Oscars is over. We look ahead to this year. And we've already gotten a movie for this year that I think will be up for Best Picture when we're all the way back around in the nominations in January 2027. And that is Project Hail Mary. Project Hail Mary, starring Ryan Gosling, based on the book by Andy Weir. I have not seen it yet. I was, again, traveling on vacation, have not had the chance to go to the movies. I really want to go, but my wife and I are going to go together. And so we will find time to go to that. But I have seen nothing but unbelievably good things when it comes to Project Hail Mary. And I think Ryan Gosling is unbelievable. He's got to be one of the top actors for me right now. He's in this film, and then 2027, early 2027, he's in the new Star Wars film, Star Wars Starfighter. And I just think Project Hail Mary is resonating with people. I think that people are going to that theater and just are mesmerized by the way it looks, by his acting, by the stories, by the character stories, the character arcs. And I don't even know what happens. And so I am so excited to go see that. Ratings, critics, everybody's loving this film. So I think Project Hail Mary, like I said, is the first true like blockbuster major hit, unreal film that it's crazy that we're in March and we're already discussing a film to be a Best Picture nominee in 2027. But you know what? If you think about it like this, there was a movie that came out around this time last year that won 4 awards and had the most nominations ever at the Oscars this past Oscar season, and that was Sinners. So maybe now's a good time to release a movie, right? So Project Hail Mary, I'm going to be seeing that soon. Once I see that, I will post stuff about that all over the Slushy Film podcast, TikTok, all that fun jazz. What about these films that I watched? Let's think while I took a sip of coffee. I've been lacking on the films. However, I'm slowly running it back. First, let's talk about a movie that I thought maybe would have some sort of nomination before I saw it, and that's Jay Kelly, starring George Clooney, which I think is just a film about George Clooney. Starring Adam Sandler, Lisa Kudrow, obviously George Clooney. Watched that on the plane coming back from London. Look, I really enjoyed that. It's a great father-daughter film. I think that it explores a lot about, who Jay Kelly is, aka maybe George Clooney, however they're looking at that. I watched that on Netflix, so I downloaded that, and then I also watched the new Netflix film War Machine. That was more just for fun because I wanted like an action-packed film. And yeah, look, it's not a film that like is the best thing you'll ever see. If you're into the military, if you're into the action, if you're into the space robotic piece of this as well, then this is a movie for you. I mean, it's pretty much nonstop action from the get-go because they do all this training for Rangers. They go out on this final mission so they can finally get their Rangers patch, and then all hell breaks loose because there's a robotic alien life form, whatever you want to call it, war machine, I guess you could say, sitting there, and then from there on, it's pretty much hunting them down. And it's a film that is very predictable in my eyes, and that doesn't mean it's bad. Of course, spoilers. everybody outside of the two pretty much main characters who go on this final mission die. I think there's a lot of unrealistic moments in the film, but at the end of the day, if you're looking for something just fun and you're into the high octane action, war, a little bit of space, I think they could have explored the space aspect, the war machine aspect more if the film was longer, and that would have made it a little bit better. Not a ton of dialogue, not a ton of like character development, character arc outside of maybe the main guy, but maybe that's the point. And so I think this is a classic film that people are going to watch, that people are going to sit there and be like, yeah, not the best thing I've ever seen. And that is what it is. And we'll move on. But War Machine on Netflix, again, if you're into that kind of stuff, then I mean, I would recommend it. Based on the trailer, I actually didn't think I'd want to watch that. And then I just downloaded it because I was bored, watched it on the plane, and I thought, yeah. And my dad was sitting next to me and he goes, what'd you just watch? And I was like, oh, War Machine, the new film on Netflix. And he's like, I'm going to watch it. And then my brother's sitting next to me or next to him on the plane. And he goes, oh, yeah, I watched that when it came out. It's pretty good. And I was like, okay, well, people are watching it. So it's top 10 on Netflix movies right now. I mean, people are seeing it. And that is what it is. So that's War Machine. Outside of that, I'm so after being in London, we did a Warner Brothers Studio Harry Potter tour. So my wife and I are kind of rewatching some of the Harry Potter films. So we watched The Half-Blood Prince, we watched Deathly Hallows Part 1, and now we're on Deathly Hallows Part 2. We saw some stuff related to Peaky Blinders, so we started watching, or I started Peaky Blinders season 1 on the plane. My dad actually finished the whole first season while we were on the plane. Well, he was on the same plane I was. I'm on episode 3 of Peaky Blinders. I don't know if I can get into that yet. I know it's Cillian Murphy and he's really good. I'm just really struggling with Peaky Blinders, and I don't know why. It's not the first time I've tried to start this TV show. I don't know. So I got to really figure that out as well. Another show I really want to start is The Crown, because again, we were in London, so now I really want to start The Crown. But then there's all these shows that are coming out that I haven't started yet. So I want to watch season 2 of Monarch, Legacy of Monsters on Apple. I'm behind on Shrinking, behind on The Pit. My wife and I have not started Paradise season 2, and Paradise season 1 was one of our favorite shows last year. So I'm behind on the 8 ball. Haven't seen Project Hail Mary, haven't seen Hoppers. I think there's another film out in theaters right now I want to see that I haven't seen either. And this is just crazy. It's crazy. I just haven't had a chance to see anything. And so with this podcast, with this social media platform that Slushy Film is, we're gonna be back getting the ball rolling. We had a little bit of that break, a little bit of that holiday, a chance to kind of reset, relax. And that was more for work than this. And now we're coming back, right? We're working hard. I have some fun stuff kind of planned on the docket for this podcast and for this this social media platform that is Slushy and Film. I'm going to, what it sounds like, possibly have some guests on in the future, maybe do some type of draft of the most anticipated movies for 2027. Nope, 2026. My years are wrong. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So I wanted to get back on here. I wanted to have a podcast. I wanted to record an episode. I wanted to talk to you guys. I wanted to make sure everybody was aware I'm still here. We're still doing this. And I think this is episode 21 of the show and of the podcast. And again, I apologize for the camera quality. We got to get this thing recorded. We got to get this thing out. And, next time I do it, I'll make sure that I have a better camera. But this was Slushy Film, a little quick Oscar recap, some of the things I watched while I was on holiday, but really talking more about what is to come and what is to be expected, because there's a lot coming up and there's a lot on the docket, and that I'm really, really excited for with this podcast. So as always, I'm here. Again, we're going to go back to the once a week model. So I'll be here once a week talking to you guys, talking with you guys, all things movies and TV shows, because that is what Slushy and Film is. And I appreciate everybody listening. Like, comment, subscribe if you're watching on the YouTube page. Share if you're on the Spotify channel listening to this on the audio version. And of course, if you see anything all over the TikTok page, post that, put that on your story, share that with friends, family, give us a like, give us a comment, all that fun jazz. So as always, I'm Nick. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.